Hello there, and a very warm welcome to our special year-end edition here on the Squirrels.in. If you've been reading the newspapers, which I'm sure you do, or if you've been looking at least some of the discussions which happen on television channels or on digital platforms, you'd have been asking yourself this question: just how much money is there with political parties, whether at the center or at the state, that cometh the election, cometh the big Santa Claus oriented freebie big bag of goodies. Now, we're looking at the Delhi Assembly elections. A few months back, we were looking at Maharashtra Assembly elections. Have you seen how there is such a great similarity in the desire of incumbent political parties, parties which are seeking a re-election for themselves, how they are only too keen, and perhaps they're convinced that the only way for them to come back to power is if they were to throw a box of goodies, a box of freebies, free cash before people. So what did we see in Maharashtra? In Maharashtra, it was the Ladli Bahin Yojana. What are we seeing in the national capital? It is the Mahila Atma Samman Yojana. Of course, keep the politics aside, where the BJP at the center and the Aam Aadmi Party here in the national capital consistently have been at loggerheads with each other. That's a side story, I feel. The real story to look at today, folks, as we move to a countdown of 2024, is just how much money do you really have? On one hand, there have been stories, whether it's in Punjab or in the national capital or in some other states, that governments of these states have not had the money on occasions to pay those who are serving the government themselves. Let me throw up a number before you. And this is coming straight from the Reserve Bank of India. Excessive spending on revenue expenditure, like salaries, pensions, and subsidies, it overshadows investments in infrastructure. For 2024-25, states' revenue expense is 5.2 times more than their capital outlay. Just imagine. What, in simple terms, what does it mean? It means that your income is only 1 rupee, but your expenditure is well over 5 rupee. And with this kind of gap, despite this kind of a gap, what you want to do is you want to throw more money as freebies to those who you hope will end up voting for you. And that's why I thought that as we move to a countdown of 2024, we must ask ourselves these questions in terms of where is this really going to end? State liabilities as of March 2024, just look at this figure. And again, all these figures that I'm giving you today are figures which are coming from the Reserve Bank of India. States' liabilities stand at 28.5% of GDP in March 2024, down from 31% in 2021, but still way above that limit, the threshold limit of 20%. And which are the states which are facing the worst fiscal deficit, fiscal stress burden? Punjab, Delhi, Kerala, Puducherry. This is not to suggest that states like Madhya Pradesh or Maharashtra, which have also politically experimented with this cash dole-out mechanism, this is not to suggest that their balance sheets are some great or something to write home about. But in these states where the situation is the worst, the desire to bring in more money, to throw more money at potential voters is even higher. And what are we actually doing about this? Well, the Prime Minister had given this whole clarion call in the run-up to 2024 Lok Sabha elections when he coined a new word, a new term, revdi culture.
आजकल हमारे देश में मुफ्त की रेवड़ी बांटकर वोट बटोरने का कल्चर लाने की भरसक कोशिश हो रही है.
When the BJP is in power in a state, it also wants to give money to citizens. That's not revdi, that's social welfareism. That's what we're told. When the Aam Aadmi Party wants to do something similar, then what are we told? We're told that this is nothing else but a fake promise. A fake promise versus revdi politics versus social welfareism. Please ask yourself, who is at the end of the day paying for this? Let me now bring you back to the debate which has been doing the rounds for the last few days. The entire GST burden debate. Just how much GST should you be paying on salted popcorn versus caramelized popcorn versus, let's say, plain popcorn? Or for that matter, how much GST should you be paying when it comes to selling a used car? You know what happens? When you end up staring at this scenario where your outlay is more than your income, then you have to be prepared that somewhere or the other, your other pocket will end up bleeding more. So, to those of you who think that by getting a free metro ride or a potential 2,100 rupee monthly cash dole out, if you think that this is going to add to your bank balance or add to your convenience, well, let me assure you, you're missing the wood for the trees, folks. When you start depending on a model which is based on government handout, on government dole out, then remember that someone else has to pay from the other pocket, and that someone else could also be you. So you're taking money from your left pocket, maybe you're giving money from your right pocket. Always remember that. So as we come to an end of 2024, just bear in mind that these numbers which we often find in the run up to elections are numbers which can be extremely misleading. Let me give you another statistic. Since 2018-19, state subsidies have grown 2.5 times to 4.7 lakh crores. Free electricity in Delhi, Rajasthan, cash transfers in Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, and Jharkhand. Freebies is now it's a political necessity, if not a fiscal necessity. In Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Haryana, Jharkhand, ahead of elections, what is the biggest announcement which is always being made by political parties? How much money is being paid by whom? 2,100 rupees somewhere, 2,500 rupees somewhere else. The RBI has been urging states, by the way, to adopt these next generation fiscal rules, rein in subsidies. Even the Supreme Court has often warned about where is a limit going to be fixed in terms of which political party in which state can offer how much money. If the sad political reality of our times is that the only way for you to win elections is during the time of elections, promise a cash subsidy, speak about, let's say, nationalism, or speak about how there is a certain villain that will end up coming to power, which typically is the opposition parties in our country. If that is the if that's the premise of the entire political narrative in our country, then sooner than later we will end up staring at a situation much like what we're now seeing in certain European countries. I'm not suggesting that India is going to get bankrupt, no. But I do believe that as we come to the end of this year, which has seen the maximum volume of cash subsidies being offered, this debate needs some serious study. Just how much is too much when it comes to cash rollouts, when it comes to these so called subsidies, social welfareism, or reveries being offered by various political parties.